Today, the last international break / recap podcast of the Premier League season. Love to see that. We'll be going over each team. We have some talking points, just general things that we want to key in on as the season comes to a close. Plenty of makeup games left, not to mention I think we have a handful of match weeks remaining. All that coming up and previewing this weekend's fixture list. This is the Premiership Perusal podcast.
Manchester City are still alive here. Balotelli, Aguero! Back, Fuchs. The ball in behind Damian Vardy! It's 11! It's heaven for Jamie Vardy!
You are an ostrich. Well, your head must be in the sand. Is your head in the sand? Are you flexible enough to get your head in the sand?
Now the fans are shouting every week, Louis van Gaal's army! Louis van Gaal's army!
Feet after a fabulous start, the game just got away from you there.
I have nothing to say.
Nothing to say about the game at all.
Drama from day one! This is the league we want to watch!
Wow, what a professional intro.
I know.
First take, no mistakes. We've never made a mistake on an intro. Never.
I would say never.
Never. So, during the international break, we're just coming down from the big party last night. You know, the Wednesday night party.
Some of us are just
celebrating.
winners and clinchers.
Yeah.
And we do it in style.
Third spot in the CONCACAF, the best region in world football,
Yeah.
as some would say.
Prepared to get the U.S. in your group and get absolutely curb stomped
Yeah.
out of nowhere.
Yeah, I mean, really, the U.S. sandbagged to third spot so that they could face tougher teams, just for the respect.
Absolutely.
So no one can say when the U.S. wins the World Cup, it wasn't easy. you
Yeah,
know?
it wasn't like England's road to the Euro 2020 final where they get to play patty cake teams out here. And their hardest team they faced was Denmark.
Yeah.
This is going to be tough stuff
Yeah.
for the U.S.
Tough stuff. But anyways, we're back. We didn't have any Premier League the last weekend. Took a nice little break.
A siesta, some might say.
Yeah, we took like a week-long nap, a couple weeks, actually.
Mini
But we're
hibernation.
We're here. Hank has been in the laboratory just thinking away.
Yeah.
I've been at my desk during lunch scribbling down on a
Sheet
piece of paper that is very crinkly. But,
You got to love the yellow paper, too.
yeah,
not
off the
not
legal pad.
Yeah.
I'm a dollar store lawyer.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You got to love to see
That's
that.
my job. I cosplay as a lawyer.
We have some narratives to go over. We don't love talking narratives. We like breaking down games and analyzing why things happen. But alas, here we are with no games, and we have to give content. So we're here. We're going to talk about where teams are going, how things are going to wrap up, some trends that we're going to notice as the year winds down, comes to a halt, Sam.
Yeah, sadly. Unfortunately.
Sadly, we're
All
gonna
good things must come to an end.
Yes. So we'll start. First topic. We're doing the pressure cooker power ranking, Sam.
The pressure cooker.
We got
Insert pressure cooker music.
We got 5 teams. We're going to just go over where they're at pressure-wise, whether it be short-term, long-term. We're going to go over where they're at, and then the very end we'll recap, what Sam thinks in terms of 5, which one's under the most pressure. First off, we have West Ham United.
West Ham. The
A
Hammers.
team that is pushing for Champions League, but it might be all for naught. Hanging out in the 6th spot currently? Yes? Yes? 6th? 7th. 7th.
Yeah.
They're below United.
Yeah.
Fixtures remaining. Everton at Brentford, Burnley, at Chelsea, Arsenal, at Norwich, City, at Brighton. How about the home-away home the rest of the year for West Ham?
Wow.
Nice little rotation there. Recent trends regarding West Ham. Attack has dried up, to say the least. Very reliant on Bowen. Ben Rama's been playing a little better lately.
Yeah.
In place of Bowen. Defense had gotten better as the year had gone along, if you're looking just at general trends.
Mm-hmm.
But lately it has really fallen off. And when it's bad, and this is just a season-long trend too, when it rains, it pours with this defense. They're giving up what feels like they might only concede like twice, but they're giving up a ton of chances, and it just comes down to the other team finishing. So they might only give up 2 or 3, but could easily give up like 5.
Yeah.
Sam, what are we looking at for the pressure that West Ham is under?
Well, I feel like it's less than, some other teams in that area of the table, just because they are not historically a team that is always in the Champions League or Europa League.
Yeah, so you feel like they're playing a little with house money.
Yeah, I would say so. So I feel like it's kind of theirs to go after and get. Looking at their schedule here, they got Everton, Brentford, Burnley, Chelsea, Arsenal, Norwich, Man City, Brighton. So it's kind of like very, very easy fixtures and then some very difficult ones.
Mm-hmm.
But West Ham
Sometimes
it's
struggle with
kinda
easy,
opposite,
and sometimes they do well against the better teams.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, I get where you're coming from, and I agree with it for the most part. The only thing I worry about is if you're worrying about, or you're thinking about long-term with this team, eventually you have to just make the push for Champions League. Otherwise, Bowen's gone, Rice is gone.
Yeah, for sure.
So, I just feel like they're under pressure to get in that top 4, but there's so much room to make up now that it might almost be pointless. So they might not have any pressure on them. They just go out there and play.
Right. Yeah, and you look at guys like Declan Rice, there's going to be the decision where it comes down to whether they should sell him and cash in or whether it's worth it to maybe get another year out of him, but then lose him on a free to try and make that push for Champions League possibly next season. But it would be a lot different if they got it this year.
Yeah, to say the least.
But yeah, I mean, I don't...
So on a scale 1 to 10, I'd probably put him at, I would say, a 7.
7. Their pressure rating is 7 out of 10.
Yeah.
Like, they're getting up there.
Yeah, they're pretty high up. They still have to do it.
I mean, maybe an internal pressure to keep
external pressure, it's probably like a 4 because no one expects much from them.
Yes.
I would say from their perspective that it should be pretty high.
Yes, because if they get Champions League, this can kind of define who they are going forward as a team.
Yeah.
And try and cement themselves as a Champions League team.
Yeah, bigger club.
Yeah, I guess I was more thinking along the lines of the external pressure being... I was thinking of 4
this
as well.
That's why we discussed this. There's 2 different avenues with it.
Yeah, so they have some winnable fixtures, some tough ones, but it's really hard to predict what West Ham will do.
Hard to predict what they'll do, let alone they have so much ground to make up. They virtually might have to win out.
Yeah.
And maybe drop like
Right.
one draw against like City or Chelsea.
Right.
Moving on, next team in this category, Everton. 2 wins on the with just the 1. They beat Newcastle.
Beat Newcastle, yeah.
Yeah, that Leeds one was actually a while back now. It's probably like a month ago. As the year's gone on, Everton's attack has definitely dried up, to say the least. Even more so than the defense. At least that's what the stats say. I feel like they're a little like Tottenham in the way that their defenses clearly had to be protected and they'd be shelled.
Yeah, for sure.
Early in the year, and that's why there was some success. But then once they got out of that shell, everything just fell apart because their defense isn't very good. So as far as pressure, they got to stay up. They're 17th right now, 3 points ahead of the final relegation spot. this is massive for a club like Everton. You cannot afford to go down. It's one of the main things that you have as a club is you've never gone down. And
70 years.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like this is kind of the opposite of West Ham. The external pressure is just immense. But
yeah.
on the other hand, the internal pressure is also immense too. So that's kind of the difference between West Ham.
Mm-hmm.
Where West Ham, really, they do have some freedom to play with. But Everton, you got to feel like it's just they're under the microscope for these, remaining 10 or so games that they have left. And they have a very difficult schedule coming up here. Watford, West Ham, Burnley,
All away.
United, Palace, Leicester, Liverpool, Chelsea, Leicester again, Brentford, Arsenal. I mean, I feel like at best they're getting, maybe
It's going to come down to that
7
Watford.
points.
It's coming down to that Watford game. If they can take all 3,
Yeah.
that gives them, I would say, like a 3/4 chance to stay up.
Yeah. But, this, they've struggled lately and their schedule hasn't been too bad, but now getting into these really tough fixtures, it has the potential just to spiral out of control.
Yeah. I mean, given the atmosphere around the club for as soon as Rafa came in, it was already bad. And then you're having a little success, and it wasn't like, it wasn't super long lasting in terms of success. So whatever happy feelings you had, they're gone, Everton fans.
Long
almost
gone.
instantly.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the thing is they have 3 away games. Potentially they can get away from a bit of that toxic atmosphere and try and get some sort of run going.
Yeah, I feel like if they are level or below Watford somehow by match week 34, that Liverpool game, if they just get like 5-0 by Liverpool, I think the demoralization will be set in, and it'll just be over. And sure, you could say, well, they have a game against Brentford. You never know, but I don't know. If they just got rolled by their rivals, that might really be the nail in the coffin.
I feel like after the first 3, Watford, West Ham, and Burnley, I feel like that's really, if they get some good results in those games, maybe they can, punch above their weight in some of the other matches and steal a point or maybe a win out of some of these teams, like Leicester or Brentford. But if they're losing to Watford or to Burnley, I don't have much hope when they're facing United and Liverpool and Chelsea and Arsenal.
Yeah, to say the least. The only thing that'd be a strange one is, well, we know Leicester, they have their certain threshold. You just got to play above it. Palace sometimes will fall asleep on you, but who knows with the rest of their year. I say, even though they do have that 3-point lead against Watford, I say it's 50-50 because Watford have that game at the Vic against Everton.
Yeah. Yeah, you made a note about the attack drying up, and I feel like Everton's attack never really got off the mark this season. You've had Calvert-Lewin, who's struggled for fitness throughout most of the season. Richarlison never really got going that much compared to prior seasons.
No, it's the depth guys that were kind of carrying them early when they're clicking. And Townsend and Gray, and we're like, whoa, what the heck?
Yeah. And then you have Anthony Gordon coming on the scene, and he's been their best attacking player for
pretty much second half of the year.
Second half of the year, yeah.
To say the least.
So tough run of fixtures for Everton, and it's not going to be easy in terms of pressure.
No. Speaking of pressure, who would have thought this? Man City.
Yeah, almost unthinkable.
Uh-oh. Are they going to blow it? I'd say that the one stat trend I noticed that was that when things go wrong for them and they drop points, it's mainly the defense more than the attack in terms of the attack. Is still creating chances and stuff. And sometimes, with eye test, it's the attack just doesn't have it going quite like they do normally, like with that Palace game.
Yeah.
But you do see, I feel like in general, when they do drop points, it's their defense is just, I don't know if lazy is the right word, but they're so like misplaced on the field and stuff. It's really bad.
Yeah, they do have a tendency to get exposed, whereas when they struggle offensively, they're usually still dominating the game.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just, the shots aren't going in for whatever reason. You know, maybe a different day those go in. But, when their defense is faltering, that really can look pretty ugly at times. And, it's something we've talked about in prior episodes of the podcast, just the way that they play with that high line. It requires such a high level of individual skill out of each and every of their defenders. So, so that definitely can be an area of weakness for City. But in terms of pressure, something about City is just like, it seems like no one really cares all that much about City.
Yeah.
And so therefore I feel like the pressure externally is pretty low because I feel like everyone is like resigned to the fact that they're going to win.
Part of it has to do with history for whatever reason, whether you like it or not. I think that if it's a team like United or Liverpool, they're going to be under more pressure, just given their fan base and the media attention on them.
Exactly.
It's just a different angle on a club. City, remaining fixtures, away at Burnley, home to Liverpool, away to Wolves, Brighton, Watford, away at Leeds, Newcastle at West Ham, and then wrap it up with Villa. I mean, that Liverpool game coming up here is
huge.
That's the game.
Yeah, I mean, the rest of the schedule is really quite easy. Wolves, that could be a tough one, and West Ham potentially. But other than that, I feel like, they have...
I don't know, man. I'm thinking it's Newcastle. Newcastle's going to give them to them.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see. I still feel confident that City
will win.
It's theirs to lose still.
Yeah.
I feel like they're kind of in the driver's seat still, even though the gap has been closed. But I don't know. Something about City, not a whole lot of external pressure on them to win. So, and I feel like their form will improve on what it's been.
Yeah. No, they definitely can. They have so much depth in terms of they can just plug and play guys that it's like they're bound to figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on, we got the other Manchester side.
Yeah.
Manchester United. This team, just in general, I kind of looked at their stats since Ole left. The attack's better. Not like significantly bounds better, but it's better. It's from a C+ to a B-.
Yeah.
The defense virtually is the same.
Mm-hmm.
And that just leads me to believe that it's quality of player, specifically the defensive dynamic in midfield and just all across the back line and how much they're getting bailed out by De Gea even this season to be fighting for a top 4 spot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they've definitely had quite a variety of players in the back line, all sorts of center back pairings. The one contiguous player really being Maguire, usually. He's played the most of their games.
Yeah.
Who's partnering him, whether it's Lindelof or Varane. That's kind of been changing throughout. But the attack being better, I feel like, comes down to more of Sancho starting to get settled in.
Yeah.
Rather than any sort of Ranić has changed the system and now it's performing better, really, because I feel like their attack has little game plan when you actually watch it. It's like, I don't know what they're trying to do.
You kind of just throw the guys out there, get wide, eventually either have them cutting in or you'll have Bruno kind of to pass back to and he swings the crosses in.
Yeah.
Is kind of what it seems like. Yeah, I mean, to a certain extent, he's changed a little bit, and I would say the only thing that has really changed is he's offloaded some of like the because it was so unbalanced in terms of there's way more attackers out there than need
Yeah.
to be. So he brought in maybe like one extra guy to plug in midfield, and even though that's not great, it still frees up more space.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean that helps, but I mean that's like I said, it's only a marginal improvement,
Yeah.
and I mean you make a marginal change, that's what you're gonna get.
Yeah, definitely.
There's definitely more to maximize with this team
yeah.
in terms of attack.
Yeah, for sure. Hasn't been really that much of a change in terms of the quality of the team and the results that they've been getting. But rest of their schedule going forward: Leicester City, Everton, Norwich, Liverpool, Arsenal, Brentford, Brighton, Chelsea, Palace.
Not easy.
Not easy.
Not like grueling, but definitely not easy.
Yeah, definitely some tough ones. Having that
Arsenal,
Liverpool,
Chelsea, Liverpool.
Arsenal, and then Chelsea, Palace to end off the season. Yeah, so I mean, I just kind of expect more of the same out of United. Just kind of middle of the road, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's okay, but it's nowhere near where you want to be.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's going to be good enough to get you top four, you know,
This-
especially this season.
This feels kind of like a Van Gaal year, except the Premier League's better now than when Van Gaal was at United.
Yeah.
It kind of felt like United was running in place, and they weren't really going to challenge in Europe. They weren't really going to challenge for the Premier League. It just kind of felt like, blah, you know. And that's kind of where they're at right now. And that's why I think that, I mean, that breaking news here, it's not going to be Ranić. That's
Right.
going to be the main guy. Everyone keeps pointing to Ten Hag. We'll see about that. But no, it just kind of feels like you kind of got to bite the bullet and accept that you're probably just going to be your Europa League team next year. That's about all there is to it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the expectations are Europa League, so potentially that allows them to punch above their weight.
You
know?
say that, but yet
But I don't expect it.
these media members really are still going to get on United's
Yeah,
case
that's
about
true.
underperforming and stuff.
Yeah, and I think you're spot on with the analogy of saying that they're kind of running in place. I feel like that is a pretty accurate descriptor of United right now.
They don't have their future manager, and they don't have a future, I guess, 6.
Yeah.
And they might even get a future 8 if Pogba leaves.
Yeah, it seems like it's kind of like a placeholder year. It's like get through the year, and in the summer we're going to be making some changes.
Yeah.
But this isn't the team that we're looking forward to in the
Which,
future.
honestly, in one way, it's like it's nice because you can chalk that up, but not everyone views it that way. They still feel the team has a chance and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're United, you can't really be doing that.
Yeah.
You have to be competing
Throwing
year
in
in
the
and year
towel.
out. So, yeah, still under a lot of pressure to finish the year. Brighton, the final of the 5 teams. And you might say, why the hell is Brighton up here? And that's a fair question. I feel like they were the team playing with house money to start the year.
Yeah,
They-
absolutely.
They were, as we like to say, mid-table. They're trying to push into high mid-table.
yeah.
They have lost 6 or 7. I think 6.
I think 6.
6 games in a row.
And scored like 1 goal.
It is brutal. Which is strange because the numbers show the defense has dropped more than the attack, but it's impossible not to blame the attack. It's one of those things where it's like, yes, the defense is maybe falling behind, but it's like if you're not taking your chances early in these games, then obviously the defense is eventually going to, you know.
Yeah, I feel like the reason for that is that the attack consistently has been pretty poor the whole season.
Yeah.
And towards the start of the season and kind of more the middle of the season, the defense was decent.
Yes.
And then they, second half of the season, it's really taken a drop off. No Dan Burn.
Yeah.
Shane Duffy and Veltman and Webster just aren't really
We've
cutting
had
it.
this. Yeah, we've had this discussion about their defensive rotation and how it's limited, but yet not really good enough.
And of course, it doesn't help when, like you say, the attack isn't scoring any goals. Like,
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is from earlier in the year, the chance creation and stuff, it's only dropped a marginal amount. So it's just a matter of they're not taking these chances. And you watch the games, they still have a few good chances at times, and
Yeah.
they just don't do anything with it. And this is how it's been in years past too for Brighton. It's like they got to bring in the right guys for Graham Potter at some point. I mean, I get that you spent money in the past a little bit relative for your club, and you just whiffed. It's like that's no excuse not to, go out and support your manager and actually sign some other quality players. Because right now he has like a couple, if that, Basuma, Trossard.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like this is the team that we more expected coming into this season, struggling in attack without any real quality additions. And I feel like the first chunk of the season where they were performing quite well was overperforming.
Yeah, because I forget where we had them preseason ranks, but we had them around, I think, like 11 or 12, which was a little above where they had been. So they were even outperforming our expectations. But, yeah, this drop-off of just not having even just an out-and-out 9 to go and get you at least one goal, it's really coming to fruition, to say the least. This is not what you want to see if you're Brighton, especially to close out the year, closing it out on this kind of note, just finishing so poorly. Then it makes you think, into next year, it's like, what if we carry this form into next season? Stuff like that. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, so the fixtures: Norwich, Arsenal, Tottenham, City, Southampton, Wolves, United, Leeds, West Ham. After that Norwich game, that is rough.
That is really rough. Easy. That is very Arsenal, Tottenham, City.
Brighton could go like 12 games,
without
14
scoring.
games without scoring, one goal through 14 games or something. Like this run, combined with the form that they're on is just ugh.
Yeah. That's why I'm saying there's pressure. And I mean, obviously smaller club is not going to have a ton of pressure from media or anything, but from people like us looking at this team, it's like, okay, the sky's semi-falling for your team right now. Look at the remaining schedule.
Right.
This is pretty brutal.
Yeah, it's quite concerning.
Not even mentioning, I guess, if they got one more win, like if they win that Norwich game, I think that puts them at 36 or 37. And we talked about the staying up threshold for this year on last pod. That's probably enough.
Yeah.
So they literally have to like lose out and have many things go against them for them to somehow go down. But I guess still feasible. Can't fully be ruled out, but no, this pressure is definitely long term in terms of if you go on this stretch and win maybe a game and draw a game, not to mention the 6 prior to this, you have some serious reflecting to do as a club in terms of maybe not sacking Graham Potter, but thinking how can we maximize, this style and stuff, and what guys can we bring in? How can we develop guys? Because this is, if you're ending the year losing 6, not to mention all these other games that they're going to lose.
I feel like sacking Graham Potter would be just a huge mistake rather than backing him in the transfer window.
I feel the same way.
Bring some quality in, because realistically, I feel like Graham Potter definitely could be at a club,
bigger than
Brighton for sure. And I feel like a lot of people agree on that. A lot of people feel like he could be, United or Tottenham.
Do people think that? I mean, I
think people have
that.
tossed it out there before, for sure.
I feel like most people would say he's more maybe Tottenham or like a really good hire for like even Everton at this point, but more like a Leicester / Wolves kind of
for sure
level.
Yeah, but yeah, for sure. Brighton sacking him, there's no way they bring in someone better than him.
No.
Especially considering their past managers have been quite poor.
Chris Hughton.
Relegation expert. But yeah, I think like you
Him
say,
like him in an interview, like extending his hand to like the board, saying that Chris Hughton, relegation expert.
yeah, they're going to be a lot closer to the bottom of the table than they are right now by the end of the season.
Yeah, I mean, and even then, they're 13th right now. They've completely fallen to lower mid-table. So,
Okay.
if we're ranking them,
Yes.
we're going number 1. Can you scroll up so I can remember the teams from the bit? Everton 1,
Yes.
City 2,
Okay.
United 3, but I can flip-flop City and United. I wouldn't rule that
Yeah.
out. West Ham and then Brighton. No, I'm going to go Brighton then West Ham.
Yeah, I did Everton, United, City, West Ham, Brighton.
It's tough because West Ham and Brighton could be flip-flopped and
Yeah.
City and United. Everton was like kind of the number 1 because
Yeah,
going
for
down is
sure.
the ultimate, oh, fuck. Oh, no. Oh, shit.
Yeah, for sure.
Moving on, we're going to be talking stocks.
Stonks.
We're talking stocks right here.
Yep.
You buying, you selling. Let's start off. First team, Brentford. They've kind of come back to life a little bit. Not
Yeah.
looking amazing,
No.
but
Not by
Christian
any
Eriksen
means.
has provided a lifeline where they've looked competent in attack at times. They got bailed out a
Just.
little bit in the Norwich one, to say the least, but they do look better when they hold the ball at least.
Yeah. Yeah, they
yeah,
were
chance-
pretty bad.
Just season trends, middle of the year, chance creation just dropped off like considerably. And it's been picking back up lately. But Brentford, credit to them. They stick with their play style, which it suits their strengths in terms of they have guys who can tackle and intercept the ball very well. The battle's going to be won in midfield, and they're going to have to generate goals with some crafty play, which it'd be nice to have a guy like Eriksen who can take that reliance off of having to get all your goals from crafty, set piece plays. So what are we thinking about Brentford right now?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been too high on Brentford lately. I feel like they've been overperforming their play. Like you said, the Norwich result, that was
Heavily
more
inflated.
favorable.
It's
Yeah,
heavily inflated.
Mr. Ben Gibson having a rough go on that one. And then you look at their schedule coming up: Chelsea, West Ham, Watford, Tottenham, United, Southampton, Everton, Leeds. I don't feel confident about that at all.
Mm-hmm.
They've just been managing through their weaker portion of the schedule. So coming into some stronger teams, I am a firm sell.
Can I tell you something right now?
Yes.
They're crabbing. They're crabbing in the market. That's what the graph shows. But they're crabbing in a way that they're putting in lower highs, Sam. It's going to plummet.
I don't even know what you're talking
We're
about.
talking about what their trend looks like.
Crab rave?
Yeah, they are going down.
They're going down.
Not
Okay.
relegation,
Yeah.
but the stock of
Yeah,
Brentford.
it's
You want to
dropping.
sell while you can. And you know what? Maybe in the summer you revisit it.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be pretty low. You look at Brentford like some real estate. You got Brentford Island. Maybe you want to buy a condo out there.
Yes.
You revisit it. You say, oh, you're keeping Ivan Toney. Oh, you still have Eriksen or something. You made some additions again.
Yeah.
Okay, I might be back in.
Right.
But as of right now, no. It's a hard sell.
Yeah. Yeah. They will.
You got your last exit pump by getting those 2 wins, and now you get out while you can.
Yeah.
Moving on, Arsenal. Attack this year has had some doldrums at times.
Ooh, doldrums. Word of the week.
Yeah, it's not been that great at times, but for the general majority of the year, it has been all gravy, baby. The D especially has been so solid all year.
That partnership, Ben White and Gabriel.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic.
Efficient tackling, not so good on the interceptions. That's more a midfield aspect. I mean, you have Partey. He's kind of holding it down in terms of the defensive aspect in midfield by himself. So, you know. But Arsenal, games coming up. At Palace, Brighton, at Southampton, at Chelsea, United, at West Ham, Leeds, at Newcastle, Everton. That's about a 6.5, 7 on the scale of how tough. You
Yeah,
got a
kind
couple
of a
big boys in there, but
mixed bag. You have Palace, who have been playing well. Brighton, it's kind of been a bogey team in the past for Arsenal. Southampton not playing the best. Chelsea, that'll be tough. United.
I changed my. I think I'd say it's more of a 6.5 on the toughness.
Yeah, I mean,
rank.
it really comes down to like what kind of form are some of these teams like.
What kind of form
Palace
is
or
Leeds in?
Southampton or Leeds or Newcastle.
Yeah.
So I feel like it could go either way for Arsenal here. They could finish the season strong, or it could kind of wither away.
Mm-hmm.
Hoping for the first, but in terms of buying or selling, I feel like I'm kind of at a hold.
That's what I was gonna say. I'm at a hold.
Yeah.
And at the end of the year, if they're top 4, I might have to sell a little stock if they
Yeah.
don't bring in the right guys in the summer.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, right now I like where they're at. I got in very early on
Ground
this.
floor.
I had some insider trading info from Sam. He told me that Arsenal would be good.
Arsenal are not getting relegated.
No, I feel like, even though the attack sometimes has been, especially I feel like more lately so than early in the year. Early in the year, they're in such a rhythm after those first 3 games that they were really clicking. But
Yeah.
I mean, part of that's just going to be getting Smith Rowe back and stuff. But I kind of do worry a little bit about losing Lacazette. He's been really solid.
Yeah, he's been solid. It brings about the question, how do you replace him? Do you want to go for like an out-and-out goal scorer? Do you want to go for a guy who can drop back and play more like he does, kind of in a false nine role? Do you try, maybe a Smith Rowe as a false nine? But I think there's been kind of one hole in the team, and that's been that pure goal-scoring aspect.
Yeah.
But if you take away Lacazette, then, the chance
losing a lot.
creation kind of dries up. So it'll be a tough one for Arsenal to try and figure out who the right guy is, or maybe it's not just one guy.
Yeah, there's a chance.
That's kind of been how Arsenal's offense has been this season. It's kind of been by committee.
Yes.
Smith Rowe, Saka, Odegaard all sharing the load along with Lacazette.
I was surprised how well the defense has held up without Tomiyasu.
Yeah, Cedric has plugged the gap for now. Coming up against teams like Chelsea, United, West
Brighton.
Ham, it'll be a test. We saw a bit of exposure against Liverpool
We just talking about Brentford.
with Cedric, but yeah, it'll be pretty big to see if he can come back from injury. It seems like he's been close to coming back for about the past month.
Yeah. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
I believe in Arsenal's ability to finish top 4. I
Knock
believe
on
in you.
wood. I'm ready. I'm ready to go back to get hurt, to lose 10-2 on aggregate to Bayern.
Just don't
every
draw
year.
Bayern. Get good and don't draw teams like that.
I'm ready for
Don't
that.
draw Barca. Well, you might want to draw Barca now. I don't know though.
In the Europa League.
Xavi's got him. He's got him going. Moving on. Next team is in London as well. We're talking Chelsea Football Club. Very strange year. Hard to find trends. I would say the main thing is balance for Chelsea in attack. When there are games where they have a ton of, shot creating actions and stuff, it's a bit of overload. It's a bit of buzzkill.
Mm-hmm.
They're putting too much effort into working for their goals.
Yeah, it's kind of like they create a bottleneck by putting so much through the pipeline that it kind of just doesn't work out.
Which it's almost like, no, but if we have more attack, then that's a good thing.
Yeah,
And
it's
like,
counterintuitive.
Not necessarily. Any pressure on Chelsea in terms of you're creating, you know, you have at least some semblance of an attack. You're able to link up passes. You're able to, win some free kicks and stuff. It gives you hope at being able to take something. I noticed that the number was about 20 for shot creating actions against Chelsea. It doesn't mean you're guaranteed to get a draw or a win, but for the most part, it gives you a chance. Every game that Chelsea's dropped points in, that's been the case. So, applying pressure on them and not just letting their midfield and, guys like Rudiger and stuff just suffocate you and make sure that you can't do anything in an attack is the key. To wrap up the year, Brentford at Southampton, at Leeds, Arsenal, West Ham, at Everton, Wolves, at United, and then Watford to close the year out. Not too crazy.
Yeah, not too bad. They got Arsenal and United, two big fixtures in those. But other than that, it looks like they should be picking up some good points out of these remaining games. It really comes down to, you were saying, it's kind of been a weird season for Chelsea on the field. It's just been kind of weird.
They have runs where guys look like the best guy, not only in the team, but in the league. Reece James, Mason Mount had like a 5 to 8 game stretch where he looked like one of the most important guys. Ziyech has been popping off for a while. Now it's Kai Havertz. I mean, it's kind of strange because it's just like, that's really what you want when you have this much quality, is you don't rely on one guy and it kind of rotates and stuff. But you think about that like game to game. You wouldn't think like stretches. You're just like, all right, go out and do it for us. And then that guy falls off a cliff and someone else steps up, and it's kind of strange.
Yeah, a lot of it's come down to injuries. And then you look at the off-the-field aspect, there's been a lot of noise around Chelsea. So it'll be interesting to see how they wrap up the season. Do they finish off strong, or do they kind of, drop some points here and there, disappointment?
Yeah, well, we'll see. I mean, it'd be hard to see them finishing outside top 4 at this point.
Yeah. It feels like they've been locked into that third spot the whole season, really.
I feel like it got to a certain point with the injuries early on. Then you're like, all right, well, they're falling off from Liverpool and City. But
after that first chunk of the season where they were title contenders, then they've shifted into this third spot.
November? Hard to put a time frame on it because everything just kind of runs together. But I'd say like sometime like mid-November, it kind of dropped off. Early November. Oh, are you buying stock on Chelsea or?
Chelsea, I think
I'm just holding.
I feel like I'm probably buying. I feel like they've been underperforming, and their price is probably low because of the whole outside noise.
Yeah.
So at this point, I'm buying. But, I mean, a lot of it comes down to there's going to be some key events happening that will determine the future of Chelsea Football Club. Who are the owners coming in? Are they going to spend like Abramovich did? Or are they going to go towards more of a sustainable model where they only spend what they're making in profits?
Yeah. Hard to say.
Hard to say, but Chelsea
especially since we're probably going to be getting owners in Chelsea where they don't have a background in owning a football club necessarily, given some of the people that are heavily rumored. So not much of a track record.
There's a chance that Chelsea kind of changes away from what we've come to know what they're like.
Yes. Moving on. Leeds. They've been picking it up lately. Sack Bielsa, hire Marsh. Still playing the same way practically. And I struggled to find a trend with them in terms of, what got better or worse during the year. It's just kind of all over the board. The only thing I could point to is chance creation's virtually the same as it's been for most of the year. They're just converting these chances now finally. That was the thing with Bielsa, is it felt like they get a bunch of, well, not a bunch, but a few good chances a game, and they just wouldn't take it.
Yeah.
Now these last few games, they're able to take it.
Yeah, they were definitely underperforming. I don't know their expected goals, but I'm sure that was probably saying that they're scoring less than what they should be scoring.
Yeah, who knows and who cares?
Yeah.
Stat nerds need not apply.
Yeah, stat nerds. Get out of here.
Eat this L.
Yeah, take the L. Yeah, Leeds. I don't have much faith that they'll continue on this little streak of form, but
Well, let's break down the schedule. Southampton home, Watford away, Chelsea home, Palace away, City home, Arsenal away, Brighton home, Brentford away. That feels like they might just have to hold on to what they have, and they maybe get one win and maybe 1 or 2 draws at best.
yeah, I mean, I think if they get 3 wins out of this,
3 wins.
yeah, Watford,
Brighton,
and Brentford, I think they could win those games.
They can win those games. I will go along with that. but
Potentially Southampton and Palace, depending on what.
who they run into. If they're
What-
running into
yeah,
a
what
buzzsaw of Southampton or
Right.
sad case Southampton.
Yeah. I guess the way I'm feeling about it now, I don't really have too much confidence in Leeds. Maybe just doing enough to get by. But they always have had the potential to really go on a run, get some good form going. That's kind of what we've been waiting for all season. It was always like, no, they'll pick it up. But
Yeah.
it just never really came.
Same with Leicester.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder how the impact affects the team regarding Rafinha. Apparently rumored to be going to Barcelona somewhere around like 60 mil. That sound right?
Yeah, I've seen that there's
60 million
two different
pounds, that is.
scenarios. If they stay up, his release clause is like 70 million euros, or if they go down, it's like 20 million euros or pounds.
Yeah, I've seen that too.
So
So you buying or selling, holding? What are we thinking?
I feel like
I might
Right.
dabble a little in the buy,
yeah,
and then in the summer revisit to potentially purchase some more stock on Leeds, because it'll be quite low by the end of the year.
yeah, I feel like it's already kind of low right now. So you could buy for the
while the
potential
getting's good.
upside, and you don't really have too much to lose. Like, yeah, they might get relegated, but they're not too far off of it right now.
Yeah,
And the potential is that they stay up. So I would say
sprinkle a little buy.
maybe a little buy, but
There you go.
if my life depended on it, I'm selling.
Take what you can and leave.
Yeah.
No greed. Wolves for the final team of this segment. Honestly, kind of a strange year for this side too. The one trend I found was more attack does not equal more goals. Kind of similar to Chelsea in a way. Just going forward all the time doesn't mean that's what's best for your team, and we've kind of seen that play to fruition here towards the end of the year, where they open up a little more, and the defense, which was so good during the year, kind of gets a little exposed in these games.
Yeah.
I think they got to go back to basics. I'm hoping they do. But end of the year, Villa at Newcastle, City at Burnley, Brighton at Chelsea, Norwich, Liverpool. Pretty tough.
I think the key games in here, starting off Villa and Newcastle, those will be 2 big games.
Mm-hmm. Get you going on the right trend.
Yeah, and then, of course, it's kind of the same for all teams that are in this similar place. Like when you face the top teams, it's like, maybe you get a point or something.
Yeah.
Steal something off of those games. But really, you're going to want to be winning against Villa and Newcastle. And, of course, you want to get wins against Burnley and Brighton and Norwich.
Sometimes you just got to pray you beat a team like Norwich. That's all anyone can do.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're buying or selling stock on this, I think I might sell a little bit. Just a teeny bit.
Yeah, I think they've been in good form. And, maybe there's a hint that it's dropping off, so I would probably be selling too. I feel like they're at a higher price than
what they actually are, the
actually
value.
are. Yeah.
All right. That wraps up that segment. Moving on. Something must go, Sam.
And
I look to Sam and I tell him, Sam, this team has issues and something has to change around here.
Yes.
Someone's got to go.
Okay, I'm glad that's what you wanted out of this, because I was like, I don't really know what this means, so I'm just going to come up with some stuff. And I mean, that should still be entertaining.
I literally just put, for the listeners, the remaining schedule and just like one sentence talking point about the team. And that's my notes on this. First team, Leicester, remaining schedule, at United, Palace, at Newcastle, at Everton, Villa, at Tottenham, rather, Everton, at Watford, home for Southampton. I don't know. It's the main trend I noticed about this year was how below average they are at tackling and interceptions, which kind of implies that their midfield isn't as good as we think it is.
Mm-hmm.
Can we try and play away from that style where it's going to be open in midfield, whether you end up being more possession based or you're sitting back to play on the counter?
Yeah, I feel like
because you're just, I don't know. I feel like you're overexposing yourself to a weakness that you don't really need to have happen.
Yeah, I agree. I think there needed to be a shift to be a little more conservative so that you could protect that back line that's been pretty weakened by injuries throughout the season.
Mm-hmm.
In my notes here, I have the lack of midfield and defensive depth has been their key weakness throughout the season. Of course, their top players in defense, good players, Fofana, Soyuncu can be good with the right pairing.
Yes.
Johnny Evans, of course, Castagna, Justin, they're all good players. But when you get next in line to those players, Vestergaard, complete waste of money. Luke Thomas, just not good enough. You look at midfield, the depth hasn't been there.
No.
Those guys have been played as center backs now.
Mr. Amarte.
And you just have players that don't really fit into the midfield. You have guys like Sumare coming in, and it's like you have this weird balance of like too many attacking midfielders.
Sumare is the epitome of a thing where it's like, well, we bought him for a lot, so we got to throw him out there.
Yeah.
And it's like, he doesn't fit
Yeah.
at all. So it'll be interesting to see if they even move on from him this summer. And I completely agree with all your points. That lack of presence in the defensive aspect of midfield with Ndidi, he just needs a little more help.
Mm-hmm.
But they got to find a guy who's kind of balanced between attack and defense. They just need an 8
Exactly.
along with Tielemans.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I was thinking they need to find their version of a Henderson.
Yeah.
That kind of play style. Someone who can bring some calmness to the midfield and kind of shore it up, and you have some quality in offense and some quality in defense.
Is it Dewsbury Hall, or is he just not quite there in terms of attacking presence? Because I feel like he has a nice balance to him, but he definitely is a little more defensive at times than attack.
I mean, I think he could grow into that role. He's just not there yet. He's pretty inexperienced. That role is usually reserved for, pretty experienced players.
Yeah, I would, like I said a couple podcasts ago, I would be throwing Barnes out there. I'd be throwing Dewsbury Hall. I'd be throwing Chowdhury. I'd be throwing any young guy I can out there and just seeing what sticks.
Yeah.
And try to get them as much kind of shine as possible.
Yeah, you look at a guy like Tielemans and the writing's on the wall that he's not going to be there for the future. So
exactly.
You got to be looking to who's next, like you said.
Yeah. So, just one quick note before we move on. All general attacking kind of categories, they're always generally around like 7th or 8th best. What do you think about that? Doesn't it feel like it feels like they should be worse than that, does it not?
It does seem like they should be worse than that. I mean, they have a lot of good attacking depth.
Yeah.
You look at striker, they have Vardy, Daka, and Iheanacho. Those guys would get into, most of the teams outside of the top 6. You have Harvey Barnes, James Madison can be an excellent player. Lookman, he's a decent depth kind of guy.
Yeah.
And yeah, 7th to 8th best, you think, oh, that's not too bad. But you look at the players they have, and it's like,
Yeah.
they haven't been performing what they should be performing.
To say the least. It's just Leicester just leaves you wanting more.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe next year they'll bounce back. Who knows? But I don't know. They got to get it right in the summer.
Yeah.
Southampton. They got at Leeds, Chelsea, Arsenal, at Burnley, at Brighton, Palace, at Brentford, Liverpool, at Leicester. Their trend, the attack has definitely dropped off. Mr. Brozier, Mr. Armstrong, not Mick Armstrong, but Mr. Armstrong, we're going to need you to step up.
Mick Armstrong?
Yeah, I'm calling because it's
McAdams.
McAdams, and then there's Mick Armstrong, just for Stu Armstrong. Otherwise, we're going to be mixing up the Armstrong.
That makes sense because he's Scottish.
Yeah. Drop off in interceptions, too, especially lately. I'm looking at you, Oriol Romeo. You tried to fool us that you were good for a little while, and then it's back. It's back to you being crap.
Yeah.
Sam, what needs to go?
What needs to go? Southampton, first things first, I think they have some players at the club that shouldn't be there anymore. Kind of the key player that I think of when I think of this is Nathan Redmond. You need some upgrade on him and guys like...
What club in the championship should Nathan Redmond be at?
I don't know.
League One?
Sheffield, maybe.
Oh.
Sheffield United. You have a guy like Nathan Tella who's kind of been stagnating, ends up on the bench a lot, maybe makes a couple spot starts here and there. And then you have a guy like Adam Armstrong that you brought in, you spent money on, you won the race for him, and you're not really featuring him that much. Like, I get he's been underperforming.
And I get Brozier was hot for a bit, but now
Yeah.
Brozier's not hot anymore. It's like maybe to change it up, get Adam Armstrong in there.
Yeah, for sure. And, of course, you got to think Brozier is not your long-term plans. He's going back to Chelsea, potentially one more season at Southampton. But
yeah.
you can't...
Even that's not guaranteed.
That's not guaranteed. You need to develop some of these guys. You can't just rely on the top guys. And then you also need to strengthen your depth. That's been kind of an area where their depth has been pretty poor.
If you're just looking at Southampton in general this year, I feel like this year has been a success because there were genuine, I guess not really like doubts about them. I'd say there were questions, though, about can they stay up? You know, who knows? You could easily see it going sideways. I think they've done a nice job developing a few young guys. I feel like they need to they're like Palace light in that way, Diet Palace, where it's like, but you need to go more towards that now.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of fully embrace that a little bit, a little more youth movement.
Yeah, I think of, okay, you take their back line, expand it into the rest of the team. That's kind of your blueprint. You have guys, you get a guy like Livramento from Chelsea on a pretty cheap fee.
Yep.
Permanent transfer. You got a guy like Kyle Walker-Peters, wasn't really cutting it at Tottenham. You got a guy like Perot.
Yeah.
And there's some competition between those guys, and all of them have played pretty well. And then you got rocks like Salisu, who's been a constant, solid performer.
Who you probably have for a few more years before he's at. I mean, he could go somewhere else outside of England, but I feel like there's a chance he'll be at like maybe a Tottenham or Arsenal, perhaps in a couple years.
Yeah.
He definitely has that ability. Yeah, I feel like they're going to have to strengthen depth, especially center back depth too. Not that Bednarek's like terrible, but I don't think it would hurt to bring in another guy to kind of compete for him to be the second center back. And then I'd say midfield depth, especially the defensive aspect. I feel like the attacking aspect of midfield, it's fine. You go with Shea Adams as that kind of false 9, number 10 at times. Ward-Prowse can, do stuff going forward. Same with Armstrong. Stu Armstrong, that is. So El Nuesi at times gets hot. So it's like you have a decent enough attacking aspect, I feel like, in midfield. it does lack that bit of defensive aspect of midfield. In terms of, like, long term, Aurelio Romeo is a placeholder at best.
Yeah.
You need to find a younger guy that can kind of be in there for you to be an anchor.
Yeah, I feel like they need to bring in a guy or two in that double pivot kind of position. I feel like it's kind of stale.
Especially with Livermento and Walker Peters and stuff, they're getting forward. You need someone to be able to rotate in behind them to kind of cover that wing.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, you need to freshen up that position because it's like you look at it, you're like, okay, Ward-Prowse and Romeo. You don't have really any other options than that. And that's not something I'm very comfortable with.
no, nor should you be. Nor should anyone be. Nor should especially the Hans be.
Yes.
Tell them to pay. Buy you a man, Hans.
Yes.
Who's next? Who we got next? Newcastle. Something's got to go, Sam.
Something's got to go.
Let's go through their schedule first.
Yeah.
That's you.
Tottenham away, Wolves at home, Leicester at home, Palace at home, away to Norwich and at home to Liverpool, away to City, at home to Arsenal, away to Burnley to end off the season. What's got to go, Hank? I'll tell you what's got to go. It's their lack of identity.
I like that.
Their lack of identity. We've seen Newcastle at times. They hold the ball. They look pretty good. They look the changed team.
Yeah.
They look more like a solid mid-table team that can hold the ball
Yes.
and really work it and dominate the possession. And at times, they've resorted to more so dropping into their old ways of letting the other team have a little too much of the ball and then lacking in terms of the attack. And I much prefer the first where they're holding on to the ball more, controlling the games. I feel like they have the quality of players now that have come in. They want to be on the front foot.
I agree.
Whereas before, you're like, okay, our team's not very good, but we got St. Maximin, and we'll just chuck it up to him and hit on the counter.
Yeah.
But now you got guys like Trippier and Bruno G, and you have quality, and you want to be utilizing that quality.
Yes, I agree. Given who they've brought in, I feel like what odds would you put that Eddie Howe is either not brought back over the summer because they can get a good manager, or even into next year gets sacked somehow if they keep up with like this trend? I just feel like this board is going to eventually just kind of shit on Mr. Eddie Howe.
Yeah, and I feel like that was kind of, it just comes with this position. You're kind of like a transition manager.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter really how well you do. There's always going to be that flashy manager that they want to bring in.
Yep.
Or if inevitably you don't meet the expectations, then you're going to get fired.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter whether it's the team's fault or if it's your fault. You're on the line for it.
I completely agree. Yeah, I feel like if there's still one aspect they need to work on, I honestly really, I can't believe I'm saying this. If you told me at the beginning of the year that I'd be sitting here near the end of the season saying, God, you know what I like? Newcastle's midfield. I still feel like the defense has to be upgraded a bit, mainly center back. I want to see another center back in there. You can rotate Cher and Dan Burn. It's kind of that 2-3.
Yeah.
But I want them to go and get like one main guy to be a number one center back for them.
Yeah, they definitely have the task of filling out the rest of the team. They're starting to piece it together, bringing good guys, Dan Burn, Trippier, Bruno G. It's bringing the rest of the team up to that level.
Yeah.
And who are the guys that you choose to bring in, and that's going to be very important.
Yeah, true. Is there any way Chris Wood sold in the summer?
Oh, I would say that there's definitely a good chance that he's not there for very long because they did what they had to do. They activated his release clause. They just needed somebody.
Yeah.
But really, Chris Wood is not that good. And if you're if you want to be a good
Sorry
team, you have
to all
to
the
do better
Kiwis
than,
out there
Chris
listening.
would. I mean, maybe he ends up, just as like a backup, but
How funny would it be if you went to Burnley for like $6 million?
yeah. Stonks.
Speaking of Burnley,
Speaking of Burnley,
we got Burnley next.
hell of a transition.
Yeah, I mean, the only trend I really noticed when looking at Burnley of late was that when they were clicking, the attack was going a little better, but mainly you're getting something out of the midfield, whether it's a better defensive effort, whether it be a few more attacking chances than normal. And then Nick Pope was absolutely in fuego for a while. He was killing it. So that's the key to Burnley's success going forward, kind of capturing that in a bottle once more, pushing on, getting out of 19th place, and somehow staying up. Their schedule, City, Everton, at Norwich, at West Ham, Southampton, Wolves, at Watford, Villa, at Tottenham, and then Newcastle to close out the year.
It's a tough run.
It is pretty tough. It is tough. But you do have a few games in there where they're winnable, and there's teams not only around you, but some teams ahead of you where if you beat them, you pull yourself closer to them. I'm looking at that Everton game.
Yeah, every point matters. And let me tell you, what needs to go for Burnley? Their weak defense.
Oh, thank God you didn't say Sean Dyche.
Never Sean Dyche. I always see
Forehead right in the mic.
the weak defense because Burnley, kind of a staple of a good Burnley team is a strong defense.
Yes.
Ben Mee, Tarkovsky holding it down at center back. But I got to say, Tarkovsky has been hugely disappointing this season.
Yeah.
He's committed a lot of errors. It's really shown that Ben Mee is kind of the belle of the ball, honestly. For a long time, a lot of people viewed Tarkovsky as kind of this flashy center back. Oh, he's going to go to United or Tottenham or whatever. He's better than Burnley. But really, I've been saying all along, pat me on the back. But I've always been a big Ben Mee fan. I feel like he really does the dirty work and doesn't really get the credit for it. But overall this season, their defense hasn't been good enough, letting up far too many weak goals. And when your attack isn't all that great, you can't be giving up those weak goals.
Me bros, we won. Sam just confirmed it.
Me
We
bros,
won.
rise up.
No, I still feel like, when your team is pretty much just built on that strong defense, and then it's not as strong as it's been years past. That's what we said coming in this year. We're like, Burnley's defense last year was kind of sneaky bad towards then. And that's kind of leaked into this season for the most part. It's just not as good as years past. And it's like you're not going to be able to get away with, Jack Cork in midfield. Like you're going to have some attacking presence in midfield.
Yeah.
And Dwight McNeil has definitely taken a step back, I feel like, this year. He just hasn't been as well. If they didn't have Cornet and Voot, it'd be curtains. They'd be right next to Norwich. I still give them a chance just because they have that quality in those two guys, and if they can patch together the defense. And honestly, the fullbacks, they haven't been spectacular either, but they haven't been like killing them.
I feel like Connor Roberts has been a bit of a revelation for Burnley. I think if he played more this season, they might have gotten some results to go their way earlier in the season.
Provides more of a attacking aspect then. And I mean, it
Yeah.
doesn't... It allows you to not have to play guys like Westwood and stuff who are in midfield doing the exact same thing because you have that dynamic attack, even better, more of an attack from the defensive spot. So, if something had to go, it has to be at least one or two of those midfielders. You keep Brownhill, I guess.
Yeah,
And
I
then-
kind of like Brownhill in terms of
He's fine.
he's got some dynamic aspects to him
Yeah,
as opposed to the
he's-
other Burnley midfielders.
Oh, gosh. You don't want Goodmanson? Can we get Goodmanson in here?
Man, that guy's been like in the gulag or something. I haven't seen him for a while.
He's gone forever. So what are you saying the main thing? You're saying that they should sell Tarkovsky and then look, either would you promote Collins to number 2 and sign another championship guy, or assuming they stay up, or would you say try and go out and get like a higher quality center back, but yet you're selling Tarkovsky.
Yeah, I don't.
I feel like the
Isn't
answers.
Tarkovsky on an expiring? I
I
feel
thought they
like him and
extended him.
me are on expiring contracts.
I don't know.
Either way, lockdown, Ben Mee, he's crucial. Nathan Collins, I don't really feel all that confident with him.
He's kind of younger. He's not young, but he's like
Yeah.
23, 24, I think. So there's still some room
Yeah.
to grow.
Yeah.
It's his first Premier League season, but
Yeah, for
Um,
sure. Otherwise, I was going to say that the key thing Burnley have going for them is that they've been here before. You know, they're kind of the plucky underdog that can really punch above their weight at times.
yeah,
And
out
really
of nowhere.
frustrate teams, and they can go on a run. And you can never count out Burnley.
Never.
A team you can count out, though.
Yeah, the one team you can count out. We got Norwich City. At Brighton, Burnley, at United, Newcastle, at Villa, West Ham, at Wolves, Tottenham. It's dire. It's been a dire year for Norwich. It's gotten marginally better under Dean Smith. I feel like if you're giving Dean Smith a whole summer in terms of, training with the squad, if you're able to add a piece or two, and believe me, you need to also subtract a piece or two from this team.
Yeah.
I feel like not only will you be right back, I feel like you have a significantly better chance of staying up next time you come back with Dean Smith as your manager.
Mm-hmm.
You might not, if you sell some of these guys that you have right now and bring in a few younger guys, you might not win the championship with 110 damn points and then get relegated next year with 20 points in the Premier League, but you might still get promoted, and then when you come up to the Premier League, you might actually have a chance of staying up.
Yeah. So here's Norwich's something must go for their team. Something must go. They must stop their reliance on Timu Pukki.
Yes,
yes,
that's what I was hinting at, but I didn't say
Yes,
it.
he is great in the championship, but it's like, okay, look, it's going to be tougher in the championship if you get rid of him, but it's for the
It's for
benefit of
best.
the team.
It's ripping the Band-Aid off.
Timo Pukki's ceiling is pretty low, but his floor is pretty high.
Yeah.
You need to get someone who's got a higher ceiling that can have the chance. You give them a season in the championship, or, they get someone who's already played in the championship.
Yeah.
Give him a full season with Norwich in the championship. Then when he's coming up, next time they're in the Premier League, he has the chance to excel. And I feel like, potentially that guy is Adam Ida.
Yeah.
Potentially.
We'll
Or
see.
potentially someone else. But I feel like they got to stop relying on Pukki. We really saw it this season. His output has been very minimal.
Yeah.
And it's always been, oh, we're going to try and give it to Pukki. It's like, no,
Yeah.
this is not a guy who,
You feed.
You feed.
You don't feed this man.
yeah. And, yeah, definitely, it's just building that base. You go down to the championship, you got to build a solid foundation on which you can really excel the next time you're in the Premier League. Not just having a team that can win the championship.
Yes.
With guys like Pukki. You got to look farther ahead. And
You have to have
maybe
higher
guys,
aspirations.
yeah, maybe guys who aren't quite there yet, but you give them a good run in the team.
I know it's scary, Norwich, but you have to break that trend of just being a yo-yo club.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
You have to do it. It's spooky, but you have to try.
Yeah, and guys like Pukki kind of epitomize the yo-yo philosophy.
Yes. Moving on. Last segment with the Zoomer Corner. Sam Zoomer Corner. The for real.
For real. We're going to get for real with these clubs.
We're talking Liverpool first and foremost. Watford at City, at Villa, United, Everton, Newcastle, Tottenham, Southampton, Wolves. Halfway through, I stopped reading home and away. It doesn't matter. The main thing is the Salah contract. Is Is he ever going to extend? Is this real right now?
Oh man,
Why is this such a holdup?
I feel like
I get that Salah wants as much money as possible and Liverpool want him as
Yeah.
low as possible. Just get this over with. He's one of the best players in the world.
I feel like Liverpool are going to cheap out.
I wouldn't
They
rule
tend
it
to
out.
do that.
They
And
do.
There's
I mean,
an
even with
argument to be
the-
made that they should cheap out.
I don't think you can, dude. He's one of the best players
See,
in the
that's
world.
the problem when you get locked into having to renew a guy far past what he's going to be worth. You get into some risky territory.
I know. It's dicey when you're paying older guys, but he's literally one of the 3 best players in the world right now.
Now, what about this? His form has dropped off since the African Cup of Nations. Sign of things to come, or do you think he'll regain the form?
I already told you he was the biggest fraud of all time.
But we need to renew him.
Yes. I don't know. I mean, if what's the alternative then? You're just going
You
Diaz,
start the
Jota,
rebuild,
and
kinda.
you just have Mane there in the meantime still?
Yeah,
That's the front 3?
yeah, Mane, Jota, and Diaz.
It's not bad front 3.
No, it's not. And then you
Sell
spend the
Firmino
money.
probably.
Yeah.
Well, see, that's the thing. Implying Liverpool is going to spend the money as they let Gini Wijnaldum walk.
Yeah, that's true.
And they might let Salah walk. They spent...
Yeah. I mean, they got their title. They got
Yeah.
their Champions League,
Yeah,
you know?
I guess.
And looking at it from the Liverpool owner's perspective,
That's what he did with the Red Sox, too.
yeah, then you can take a step back and not just keep blowing a bunch of money on teams that finish second place. You know, if you're not winning, they probably would prefer that they're, you
Yeah.
know, a 4th place or a 6th place team
Yeah,
and spending less money.
100%. The other point I want to talk about, this lack of sharpness, will it come back to bite them during this final stretch? As good as Liverpool is, as hot as they are, there's undoubtedly a sense of just like, I don't know if you'd say lack of focus, whether it be the defense or sometimes the attack is just a little off. With that said, they'll still get a goal or 2 a game. But it just feels like there is a sense of lack of sharpness with this team.
Yeah.
Will it come back to bite them in this final stretch?
Yeah. My point on this, my Zoomer Corner thought on this was that it feels like Liverpool just have to be at such a higher level than Man City has to be. I feel like Man City can kind of sleepwalk their way to the title.
Yeah.
Whereas Liverpool, it's like you really got to be at your best every single game.
But yet they aren't like that, and they grind out the results. That's the thing.
Yes, they
And that's what I'm saying.
They
Will
do.
that fall off?
and I feel like yes, they can't keep performing the way that they're performing and expect to get the same results.
Yeah. That was the question, and I agree. I feel like the Premier League's too good to have that happen, especially when you play City, United,
Yeah.
and Tottenham coming up. So,
You have to be at the top of your game if you're going to beat City.
yeah.
If
I
you're going to
agree.
beat them in the game and in the title race.
Yes.
You just have to be a lot better than they have been. That's
Just-
why I still feel confident in City winning the title.
True. Moving on. Who is the next team we got? Tottenham. The Jekyll and Hyde FC. You don't know what you're going to get from this team ever.
No, you really don't.
Inconsistency is their middle name.
Yeah.
Better attack lately. You look at the games left. Newcastle at Villa, Brighton at Brentford, Leicester at Liverpool, Burnley at Norwich. I really want to talk about in this corner the Conte situation. Is it for real? Sam, are they keeping him? He's been bussin', as they say.
He's really been bussin'. I feel like they got another season out of him. One more, probably at the most.
I don't feel good about it. I think they're gonna go into next year and that's gonna blow up.
Yeah, I
Or
mean,
even this
there's
summer.
you
If
just
he's
feel like
not-
there's this cloud lingering over Tottenham, and it's like one day it's gonna start raining.
It's just because they're not gonna spend, and he's just gonna get frustrated and he's gonna leave.
Yeah,
And it's just a matter of when, not if.
And that's kind of what you expect when you hire him. It's like, you know it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And you just got to hope that you get some trophies or a title before he leaves. You know,
Yeah.
I don't think Tottenham's going to win the title, but, you know, maybe a FA Cup
Carabao
or something.
Cup.
Or Europa League.
Carabao Cup.
And kind of boost you.
Audi Cup.
Give you that temporary boost
Audi Cup, bros.
that gets you to your next manager, you know, more of a potential long-term project.
Yeah, I just feel like they're kind of running in place too, but slightly more successfully than United.
Yeah.
It just feels like they might actually achieve something like a top 4, but this isn't going to last. This isn't long term, so it's
Right.
like, what's the point?
Yeah, I agree completely.
There's something about creating sustainability, especially as a big club, than just like Tottenham's literally all in, and it's to get maybe 4th place.
Right.
What is the point of that?
Right.
It's not like you're all in your Man City and you're like Champions League contender, Premier League title contender, FA Cup, Carabao Cup. Like,
Win
you're
everything.
literally out of everything
Right.
except the Premier League, and you might get 4th.
Yeah, and I feel like Tottenham have to work really hard to maintain that level of, you know, being a Champions League team, because you know that there's inevitable drop-offs. We saw it the last time when Tottenham finished 2nd place and then they dropped down to like 8th place. You just know, because the way the club is run, you know there's going to be periods of time where the team is just awful.
Yeah.
And then there's going to be times when the club is overperforming. And
that's when people kind of fade into the like thinking that they're for sure a top club at all
Right.
times, and it's like,
yeah, they haven't cemented that spot, and I don't really see them doing that. But in terms of this season, what I want to see out of Tottenham, for real, is they need to improve while in possession. They are honestly shockingly
abysmal.
poor.
it's abysmal.
If they want to be that good of a team, you look at the, you know, top 4 teams. Every team can hold the ball and create their own chances
Yeah.
while holding the ball, but Tottenham look worse when they are holding the ball. You can't
It's wild.
You can't expect to establish yourself as a top 4 team by playing solely on the counter.
Yeah.
You can't show up to Brighton and be like, okay, I'm playing on the counter against Brighton. It's just sad, honestly.
But then they'll turn to you and say Leicester won the title playing on the counter.
Yeah, and that happens once every 100 years.
Yeah, no, I feel like Tottenham's main thing will be, first off, if they get Oliver Skip back, crazy to say, providing that nice defensive aspect to their midfield.
I feel like Conte doesn't really rate Skip that much.
I know, I still like him
Yeah.
for this team, given how they're built. And I would
and
still
he's
like,
one of those guys that's actually going to be there for the long haul.
yeah.
You know,
He's a
some of
younger
these
guy.
guys come in and they're there for a year or two, and they're not part of the long-term future. What you need, if you're trying to establish that top 4 team, you
Yeah.
need to have this contiguous group of guys.
Yeah. I feel like you could be part of that Kane and Son, and kind of looks like Kulishevsky's lining himself up to be a main part of Tottenham as a staple, but
Yeah.
who knows? We'll have to see. And not to mention, they need a center back like fucking
Absolutely.
yesterday.
Absolutely.
Villa, stronger defensively under Stevie G. A lot of their losses, I was looking at it, it's the whole team not showing up. It's literally, there's nothing good about their defense. There's nothing good about their attack. It's just all around, everyone comes out flat.
Right.
Looking at the remaining of their games, at Wolves, Tottenham, Liverpool, at Leicester, Norwich, at Burnley, Palace, and then at Man City to wrap up. Sam, what's got to go? Or what's under this is the for real.
Yeah,
Well,
the-
we got to keep it for real. Is this,
I'm going to get for real with Villa here.
I was going to say, is Stevie G for real as a manager? Is the Villa balanced attack for real?
I think Stevie G is for real. I think Aston Villa needs to get some for real consistency because they are consistently inconsistent. At times they look superb, and at times they look god awful, like against Arsenal, where they look like they're freaking Norwich out there with your like one shot on target, just super passive. Like,
They're the second.
you can have the ball. I'm not going to do anything about it.
They're like the secondary team behind Tottenham for being most inconsistent, I feel like.
Yeah, for sure. They have such a high ceiling. You got to feel like it's theirs to establish themselves as
They could easily
potentially
be a
Europa League team.
Yeah,
Yeah.
easily. If they strung it together. But, not going to happen this year, obviously. You could see it in the future, Stevie G, especially the way they're investing in this team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel like it's definitely a mix of figuring out the balance. I wouldn't be surprised, even though I wouldn't say he's been like terrible. He's done about what I thought he would for him. Ings being sold in the summer, wouldn't rule that out. As far as midfield, I'm still fine with McGinn and Douglas Luiz for now, especially with Ramsey as an upcoming guy. If you do have to sell McGinn because you get an offer from United or something, you have Ramsey there. Defense, Mings is solid, especially for Villa. I feel like he hasn't been quite as good this year as last year.
Yeah.
Is that crazy to say? I feel
think
like he's
that's
better
fair.
last year.
Yeah.
The emergence of Matty Cash
Yeah, he's been
being
fantastic.
fantastic. I feel like there's just another guy maybe with Konsa, House, kind of throw him in that vortex, getting a new center back, and have those guys be your backups.
I like
Thoughts?
Chambers. I feel like Chambers can...
Yeah, he's been good for him.
I feel like he can sneaky secure a spot as the second choice
He might be.
in your center back pairing.
He might have to be. They might not have a choice if they don't spend.
Yeah, I like his passing range. And then you look at a guy like Luka Dean coming up next season, having him for a full season, I feel like that's going to be big. He started off good. He had injuries
Yeah.
for the past couple of games, but he was an instant spark in the team.
So we're in on Villa. We're saying they're for real.
Yeah, I think Villa is for real. They're just kind of at the early stages of getting there. But having a guy like Stevie G at the helm, I feel good about it.
Before we move on, what do they do with Matty Target when he comes back? They just sell him?
Nah, you can sell him to Newcastle if they want him, but I'm sure other teams would be interested.
Yeah.
I just don't think he's at, he's probably backup level for Villa, but I don't think he will want to be a backup.
No. Watford. Let's get to Watford. Defense, sharper under Woy, as we figured.
Yes.
Less attack volume, but the volume is consistent. There are times under Chisco, there's times under Ranieri where they had a bunch of attack for a few games, and then they'd have absolutely zero in attack for the rest. You kind of know what you're getting with Mr. Hodgson.
Yeah.
And then one random note I found was their best points per game ratio is when Tom Cleves is captain. Let it be known.
There you go.
Get Tom Cleves as captain. No more Musa Sissoko as captain. Who's that guy motivating? Who's that guy organizing? No one. Tom Cleves.
Yeah.
He's the man. Remaining schedule, Everton at Liverpool, Leeds, Brentford, at City, at Liverpool and at City. Wow, Watford. Burnley, at Palace, Leicester, and then at Chelsea.
Oh, yeah. Key match against Everton, like we were saying before. Brentford, potential for a win there. Maybe Burnley.
Sam, is there a chance to stay
Leeds.
up for real?
I think so. I think if they buy into Roy's game plan, staying solid defensively, but if they have those games like they have been where they just kind of like forego that plan and it's just chaos and
Yeah.
it's just garbage, then no. And my note on Watford is this is more going forward, but they need to keep a manager for longer
It's
than a
not-
fortnight season.
It's not possible.
Longer than a fortnight season,
That's
which
a
is
Zoomer
about,
corner.
I don't know, 3 months or so.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's aspects to Watford that are for real, and I feel like, especially Dennis, like if they go down, Dennis is getting sold to another
Yeah.
Premier League side, you'd imagine.
I mean, how can you have any
And
consistency?
even probably Sarr too, which is tough because he's hurt this year. It's like, will they get as much value as they can for him? We'll see. But I don't know.
When you look at it, I feel like it's amazing that they perform as well as they do, considering the fact that they fire their manager like 4 times a season.
Yeah.
A team like that shouldn't be in the top flight.
They just constantly go for the new manager spark,
Yeah.
and they just overuse it.
Yeah, they're like drug addicts. They just can't get enough.
Y'all got any more than new managers?
Eventually, you're gonna have to go cold turkey. They're like a yo-yo club, but like hyperspeed.
Yeah.
And I want off that ride.
They're Norwich on like ecstasy or something.
Something, maybe
Something-
meth.
Yeah. Moving on. Final team, Crystal Palace. Defense improving as the year's gone on. Conversion rate, a bit feast or famine at times. And to be quite frank, the goalkeeper situation, it's bottom 5 in the league. Arsenal, at Leicester, at Everton, at Newcastle, Leeds, at Southampton, Watford, at Villa, Manchester United. Sam, we revisit Palace. We think about them a year ago at this time. We're like, this team is disgusting.
They're
This squad
literally
is
dead.
gross. Is this process, the process, as coined by your guy Joel Embiid and my guy Sam Hinkie, is this for real for Palace? The Patrick Vieira process?
Yeah, you got to say that they've executed this perfectively. Perfectly.
No, perfectively.
Perfectively. That's the new Zoomer word, perfectively. Perfectly. Yeah, they brought in the right guys, building on some solid youth players. It's going to be tough next season without Gallagher, but
I don't know. You know, Gallagher, I've talked myself more into it now because Gallagher, he's not as amazing as he was early in the year. He was like
for sure.
one of the best players in the Premier League. He's still really good. He's definitely above average. But it's, you know, they're not like over reliant on him.
No.
Honestly, at times for a little bit this year, they were a bit over reliant on him to create the spark. They've kind of found this nice attacking system with Mateta, Olise, sometimes Edouard gets in on the act. Wilf having a career year.
Yeah.
Who knows? I mean, I think they could keep it up going into next year, but it will be hard to replace Gallagher. You're not going to replace him with just like Will Hughes.
I feel like there's a chance they could get him again next year. I feel like that's
Maybe
kind
one
of the
more
best move for all parties involved. Is he going to be seeing
then-
too much time for Chelsea?
But then you see with Chelsea and you're like, well, we had absolutely zero depth this year.
Yeah.
So we probably would use him a good amount, but who knows?
Yeah.
You don't want to stall his ceiling because you need him for 3 games against
Right.
in the FA Cup or something like that. So
Right, yeah. My notes on Crystal Palace, keep the good vibes going.
they're the new Vibes FC.
New
They
vibes FC.
overtook West Ham.
Absolutely. Kurt, the cat kicker Zuma, killed any and all vibes that West Ham had. Now it's Palace. They're rocking like Selhurst rocks. And how about this one? We're talking about the goalkeeper scenario.
Yeah,
Here's a guy for you. Bernd Leno.
I can't have Bernd Leno at Palace. He can just go back to Germany.
I feel like if I'm Palace, that's a move I'm going after. He stays in London. Probably will be pretty cheap. You just got to convince him of the project.
Yeah, I don't want to.
It's not quite going forward.
True. It's definitely not, and you don't want to rely on Mr. Jack Butland as much as we meme him into existence. All right, that's it for those segments. Moving on, we're doing Five Guys. You heard of Five Guys? You heard of Five Guys? Burger joint. Guess what? We're giving you 5 guys to end the year that we're mainly going to be watching specifically. Shoot, you want me to go over my 5 and then you give me your 5?
Yeah, sure.
Do we have any overlapping? Because I typed mine out.
Yes, one of mine was Mr. Pep Guardiola.
Ooh. All right. we'll start with him then. Let's get out of the way. Pep, because he's number 1 on my list.
Mm-hmm.
I have to be watching in case he blows this.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be the bottle of a century.
If he blows this, I don't know if this bald fraud can show his face ever again.
Yeah, I agree. Especially if they don't win in the Champions League.
Yeah. With that said, I mean, even if he does win it, and say they do win the Champions League too, there's the whole aspect of like, what if he unexpectedly like walked away? He's like, I've done everything I can.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really care to do this anymore.
Yeah, good.
There's so much options with Pep.
Yeah.
Who knows? Why'd you put him on here? Just in case he blew it?
Yeah, I feel like the pressure's mounting. City need to pick it up. They dropped off for sure. Now you see Liverpool in the rearview mirror. You got to be like, okay, let's. Can
Objects
they
in
get
the
their
mirror,
act together and
closer than they appear?
and widen the gap again, or will they falter?
Yeah, I mean you can't blow this if you're Pep. If you're supposed to be one of, if not the best managers in the world, you can't blow this big of a lead.
Yeah.
When you had like what, a 9-point gap in January.
Mm-hmm.
Oof. Second guy for me, Conte.
Yeah.
I have to be watching Tottenham to see how they finish the year, whether he stays on board. If they finish Europa League, I feel like that significantly decreases the odds he stays there because they're probably not going to spend as much.
Yeah.
And just in terms of their play style, if they can have any semblance, like, I mean, it's only international break, so they're not going to do anything too crazy. But see if there's any improvement, as you were alluding to, as far as like the play style, because it's really, if it's not on the counter, they're not going to have anything going.
Yeah, for sure.
See if there's any way they can improve on that, or any, improvement on defensive organization.
Yeah.
In some aspect. So we'll see.
Yeah. So your second guy was a manager. I also have a manager as my second guy.
Let's hear it.
Super Frankie Lampard.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I did not expect that. That's great. Let's hear it.
I mean, this is the test of a lifetime, really. Can he keep Everton up during this insane end of the season run that they have left? How poor they've been playing. Mm-hmm. Can he do it? This is a real character building moment.
Yes.
I feel like this is kind of a make it or break it moment in his managerial career, how he handles this.
Yeah. I mean,
if they do well, it kind of
tough
leapfrog him.
Tough scene when you turn down Palace to take this. You almost took Norwich, which would have been even worse than this somehow. At least you took the second best of the three options, but yeah, no, there's a ton riding on the line here. Some people questioned him when he was at Derby because it's like, yeah, he had one of the best sides in the championship. Okay, congratulations. You got to the playoff. You almost got promoted. Yeah. Whatever. Goes to Chelsea. Very low expectations for Chelsea, probably in the last 10 years. The lowest expectations that year. They had the transfer ban. It was a bunch of young guys. Kind of banded them together, got them in fourth place. And then when there were expectations and they had a big spending spree, he kind of just... He spilt the milk. He spilt chili all over the floor.
Yeah.
Crapped on himself. So this Everton job was a massive task. Mm-hmm. And if he's able to turn around with what I feel like are a bunch of guys who don't even care about the team, and he has to motivate them.
Absolutely.
And not the highest quality of players, if he can hold on to it, that's an insanely high achievement, unironically, because this Everton team stinks. Moving on, first player, I have Jared Bowen. Injured, potentially broken foot, might be coming back semi-soon now, apparently. If West Ham has any chance in the Europa League, obviously it's going to be through him. Same with Premier League, if you're getting top four, it's going to be through Bowen. He was your main attacking piece before going down. Potential England national call-up. Rumored with the likes of Liverpool. He's got to remind everyone, well, he at least has the chance to remind everyone why we put him in that conversation in the first place.
Yeah, and maybe this enforced time off is something that will be valuable for him because he was playing like every minute of every game.
Not to mention the trend of these teams bringing guys back too soon.
Mm-hmm.
There's also the chance that he comes back too soon and he gets hurt again.
Yeah, that's true.
So, guy to watch, Jared Bowen. Who's your number 3?
Number 3, another attacker. This time, Mr. Jack Harrison.
Wow.
Wow, a little surprising.
Wow,
You say Jack Harrison?
Well, he's been coming on.
Why
Leeds
not?
have a lot
Why not Rafinha?
going on.
But I feel like when Jack Harrison is playing well, Leeds are playing well,
Yeah.
and I think he's going to be key to their plight of survival
Yeah.
in the remaining 8 games or whatever they have
Even
in the
into
season.
next year. He's
Yeah.
going to be massive.
A lot of people are talking about Rafinha. Feel like he's dropped off this season. I think Jack Harrison will be the guy.
I think Harrison is the perfect guy in terms of a player that you want at your club, in terms of his play style, how versatile he is all over the field. He's not just one of those guys where he's like average at kind of everything and he's balanced, so he's solid.
Mm-hmm.
He's definitely above average at everything.
Yeah.
He has exceptional athleticism, which makes him so good out wide.
Yeah.
Has good just prowess, knowing where to be on the field. A lot of times he's in the right spot. I don't know. I just feel like he's a great player.
Yeah, I feel like he's kind of like experienced beyond his age. You know, he's played a lot of football kind of all over the place, but I feel like that's kind of come together nicely for him, and he's got a lot of talent.
That's probably the one good thing you'd say about Leeds this season was securing him permanently for like, what, 20 mil? Less than 20 mil? A little under? It's like
I thought it
15
was
to 20.
15 or
Something like that.
17. So, yeah.
Moving on, my 4th guy, Mr. Cristiano Ronaldo. I don't know what future lies ahead for United. I don't know what future lies ahead for Ronaldo.
Yeah.
Is he going to force his way out in the summer if they're not Champions League? What if they make the push and somehow get to the 4th spot?
Well, there was a report that he's staying for the new coach, so...
What if he's catching fire out here for United and the team might let him down, but
Yeah.
he's playing well? Is he really going to leave?
I don't think he will. I think he's got another season left at United. I think he wants to end off on a high note.
Yeah.
Be
It'd be tough to
hugely
come here for
disappointing.
1 year. But then again, it's Ronaldo. Like he's one of those guys, he does his own thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Who's your 4th?
My 4th guy is going to be Mo Salah.
Wow. All right.
If he can get back in form, Liverpool will have a chance to win the title. If he plays like he has been, I don't think they have a chance, but you know, he's the guy. He's the guy. He's the guy at Liverpool. He's
the guy of the Premier League this year.
the guy at Premier League. He's the guy at world football. If he's firing, they have a chance at winning.
If he's getting lasers in his eyes, he's missing.
Yes.
I don't know. It'd be so hard for Liverpool not to extend him. And I wonder if they did extend him, how beneficial that'd be, even just to his gameplay, having that off his mind. I'm sure it's not really weighing down a ton on him in game and stuff, but you never know. Lastly,
Yeah.
I kind of cheated for this, but mine is all of Chelsea. I don't know what's going to happen with Abramovich in the sale.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going to happen with, the quality of their players. I don't know how Tuchel's going to manage between all the competitions in terms of rotation and stuff. They have so much going on. It's a circus over there.
Absolutely. There's a lot of noise around the club, and no one really knows how it's going to shake out.
Yeah,
Are things going to go back to like normal?
Probably
looks
not, but
unlikely.
who knows? This is just wild. Just
Yeah.
a wild year out of nowhere. When it felt like Chelsea coming into the year were probably the safest team
Yeah.
out of the 3 major title contenders. Well, 4. But yeah, who is your last one?
My last one is going to be Thomas Partey. If Arsenal have a chance at getting top 4, it's going to be a requirement for Thomas Partey to continue playing at the level he has been, guide them through this tough run of fixtures at the end of the season. He's really stepped it up this season. Last season was a tough season. He struggled with injuries, but this season he's looked immense. He's made Granit Xhaka look feasible in the midfield.
Yeah, he's tolerable for sure at times.
And I think he's going to be a key piece for Arsenal if they want to get top 4.
He's been killing it lately. He's got to keep it going. There's a lot on his plate in terms of that defensive workload in midfield. So, did you want to predict the rest of the table, or are we just running through it?
I got mine written down, and it's probably... I'm sure there's some things that go against what I've been saying in this podcast, but hey,
just rip it off, and I'll tell you if I agree or disagree.
All right. City, Liverpool, Chelsea, Tottenham, Arsenal, United, West Ham, Wolves, Leicester, Villa, Southampton, Palace, Newcastle, Brighton, Leeds, Brentford, Everton, Burnley, Watford, Norwich.
See, I wanted to say when I was thinking about this that Burnley was going to stay up, but they have a hard schedule.
Yeah. I think they dug themselves too deep of a hole.
I feel that way too. I feel like Watford might somehow have the best chance of overthrowing Everton. As far as for the top 4, I just can't get there with Tottenham. I think this is probably the dumbest thing I'll say on the podcast. I have a strange feeling about United pulling it together.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
I think they're just the team I can't quit, though. Them and Leicester this year. I just can't give up on them. But I'm going to stay safe and pick Arsenal. But don't. I feel like United has a better chance than Tottenham for whatever reason.
Yeah, I definitely could get on board with that. I didn't feel great about putting Tottenham there. I don't feel comfortable putting Arsenal there just because of the difficulty of the schedule. But yeah, United seems to, for whatever reason, they don't play very good, but somehow they end up like higher than they should be.
Yeah, they just hang around. Let's predict some games.
Yes.
Let's predict some games.
Paper's going away into the vault.
That should be like in a museum of some sort.
Yeah, it will be one day.
Liverpool, Watford, Anfield. What are you looking for in this one?
I mean, it's got to be a Liverpool beatdown. Anything else spells some real trouble for Liverpool's chance at the title.
You know, this reminds me of that time. I forget which international break it was earlier this year, but like it was coming back. I'm like, oh boy, Premier League, and I checked the first game. It's the Liverpool Watford. I'm like, oh. Literally the same thing happened this time. I was like, oh, who's the next game? Liverpool, Watford.
Womp womp.
It's like, wow, okay, that's terrible. Yeah, I mean, I would find it hard to imagine that Watford could compete with Liverpool. But, you know, Liverpool sharpness, maybe this is a look-over game.
Yeah.
Take it too easy. We saw United do that with Watford. I'll go with Liverpool 3-0.
4-0 Liverpool.
Brighton, Norwich, Amex, the battle of stinky poo-poo teams right now. The birds that are just terrible.
Not much to play for in this game, really.
Brighton has to get it going. Norwich, just try some stuff out. See what happens. As far as, you know, what I'm going to be looking for, if Norwich are going to try to go through a little possession building out from the back, I feel like it might be a nice game for Bissouma. Get some tackles, get some interceptions. I feel like Brighton might be able to play a little quicker through Cucurella and Lamptey too in this one. It'd be nice. But I'm going to go with a wild 1-0 Brighton victory, but I could very well see it being 0-0.
Yeah, I was going to say 0-0.
Brighton are going to get
no confidence.
Brighton's getting an Adam Webster header or something, or a Lewis Dunk header.
Yeah, could be.
Burnley, City, Turf Moor. Can City keep it up?
I feel like this is one of those games where City won't play that good, but they'll get the result either way. Maybe like a 1-0 or
I feel like
2-0.
City's going to be coming out like gangbusters in this one.
Yeah.
I think that Burnley's midfield is worthless. And and I think that Man City's going to overload them. I'm going to go with a 3-0 City victory.
I'm going to say 2-0.
Chelsea, Brentford, Stamford Bridge. Brentford playing a little better, a little more attacking presence in midfield. Probably going to get nullified by Chelsea's ability to play defense in midfield and take the ball off you.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess you never know.
Yeah.
Chelsea's attack struggle at times. Brentford's defense has played, I guess, marginally better lately. Not great, but a little better. Getting Ayer back. I'll go with a Chelsea 2-1.
I'm going to say 3-0 Chelsea. I don't think it'll be too difficult for Chelsea to break through the Brentford defense.
Leeds, Southampton, Elland Road. What are you looking at in this one?
This one could be a big one for Leeds, depending on how Southampton come out. Are they looking...
Well, they're going to come out hot and fast, but it just depends if they score.
Yeah. Leeds definitely have the opportunity to build some momentum. Guess we'll see. They've had some little injuries, so maybe a couple guys that are doubts in this one. But if they could pick up 3 points, it would be massive.
I'm going 2-2 draw, and I'm going to say Southampton blows a 2-0 lead.
Yeah, kind of like the Wolves game. I'm going to say 1-1. I'm happy with a point there.
Wolves, Villa, at the Molineux. Crazy one earlier in the year. One of the best games of the year.
Yeah.
This one,
Big derby.
great midfield matchup here. Nice semblance of a heavy kind of Villa attack versus strong Wolves defense, but not so strong at times Wolves defense and not so strong at times Villa defense. So we'll see.
Yeah, it kind of depends which versions of each team we're going to get, because we've seen kind of two versions of both teams where they look good and then they have a version where they look kind of poor. Of course, Wolves are going to be missing Mr. Raul Jimenez due to the red card.
Yep.
So maybe they try something different in attack.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe, I don't know, Trincao played a little better. Hwang Hee-chan had it going, then got hurt. So, maybe Silva gets back in the side. It'll be interesting to see how they combat this. Maybe I doubt a formation change where they load in more midfield or more defense. They'll probably just find some stopgaps. Maybe what's that one guy's name? The one Portuguese guy that they brought in the winter gets subbed on.
Chiquinho,
Yeah, Chiquinho.
something like that.
I'm thinking it's a Chiquinho game.
Chiquinho. He's looked dangerous when he's come on for his brief appearances.
Yes.
Looks pretty raw, but looks like he's got some potential.
Yeah, he's pretty young too. So
Yeah.
let's go. We'll go with a draw on that one. We'll go 1-1.
I'm going to say 2-2.
United, Leicester, Old Trafford. Can Brendan Rodgers win this game, shock the world, and then get hired as the next Man U manager?
Potentially.
What are you looking at in this game?
I feel like this will be kind of a insight into how the rest of the season will go for United. If they play well in this game, I have confidence the rest of the season for them. If they look kind of crap, then maybe it's not going to be so great.
Here's one for you. They look crap, but they still win against a crap Leicester side. I'm going to go 3-2 Man U.
I'm going to say 2-1 United.
West Ham, Everton, at the London Stadium. Can your guy, Fat Filthy Frank, can he get it done against West Ham? West Ham absolutely 1,000% need this. No excuses that they can't win this one.
Yeah, no room for slip-ups at all.
West Ham's defense, or midfield rather, so much better than Everton's.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be hard to imagine that they can't dominate possession.
Yeah.
With that said, we've seen times where they struggle when they dominate possession. So
Yeah, absolutely.
we'll see. This feels like a Lanzini or Soucek brace kind of game out of nowhere.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm going to go 2-0 West Ham.
Yeah, I like 2-0.
Oh, you can't say that, though. I already said that.
All right, 20-0.
I like twos. Spurs, Newcastle, Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
I feel like for this one, let's see Newcastle bounce back after a couple of not so great performances. Let's see what they're made out of.
Is Newcastle really going to have to possess the ball at Tottenham?
Yeah.
At Tottenham,
I think
Newcastle's
so.
going to have to hold the ball.
I think so. And I think they could
Jeez.
potentially win this one.
They could. I feel like it's going to be a draw. I think it's going to be a 1-1.
I'm going to say 1-0 Spurs. Tight game.
I like Newcastle's defense, and I love their midfield right now. And I don't love Spurs midfield when they do things that I don't like, believe it or not. There's analysis for you.
Yes.
Palace, Arsenal, Selhurst. Day after Sam's birthday, gets to watch a team get trounced by our shared club,
Yeah.
Crystal Palace.
Yeah.
Vibes FC,
Vibes FC.
2022.
Yeah, at Selhurst, I don't feel great about this one.
Sam
as an
will
Arsenal fan.
be sitting on his couch watching, immediately ripping off his Rob Holding jersey just to have an Etse kid underneath
Yeah,
and scream at the top of his lungs in pure joy.
yeah, that's true. This really feels like you almost want to say it's a trap game, but I feel like that's unfair to Palace.
Yeah, no, that's definitely unfair to Palace. Palace are a solid team.
Palace are better than that.
Yeah.
It's a tough game.
Trap game would be like if you're playing like Brighton, but not Brighton right now. Brighton earlier in the year.
No, Brighton right now.
Yeah. The ultimate trap game. No one saw it coming. Brighton 3 goals on your head.
Yeah.
I want to be watching the Palace attack versus Arsenal's defense.
Mm-hmm.
I like what I've been seeing out of Palace's attack.
Yeah.
Even though they haven't taken all their chances and they could be a little more efficient, I still like what they're doing. Arsenal's defense been one of the best 4 all season. I want to see how they hold up against Palace. A lot of people make it seem like Arsenal's defense is fraudulent.
No, I don't think so.
You don't think they are? You don't think people say that?
I don't think they're fraudulent.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Good. People do say that,
No.
which is crazy.
No.
But what's your prediction on this one?
I think it'll be a 2-2 draw. Arsenal getting a late equalizer.
Same from earlier in the year?
Yeah, I think it'll be similar to that. Yeah, but I think Chelsea, Crystal Palace would be more on the front foot than in that game where they really just sat back.
I'm going 2-1 Palace.
Yeah,
I think this is the first time I picked against Arsenal since like the first, second, third week, that kind of range, that Man City game. Normally I pick Arsenal or go with a draw because I have faith in them. They're reliable. They're solid. I just feel like Palace kind of are somewhat a bad matchup for them.
yeah. I feel like the key to success for Arsenal is getting off to a good start. We've seen Palace where they have kind of slow starts and they don't really get punished for it.
Yeah,
If Arsenal can punish them, get maybe 2 goals in the first half,
that's a good call.
that really puts Palace in a tough spot.
I just worry a little about Arsenal as good as Partey's been. Partey's just as good as anyone on that Palace midfield, if not better. But I feel like it's just going to be a little overloaded at times. If it's, Mateta dropped back a little bit, whether it's Wilf, Elise, kind of further back, and then linking up with Gallagher and stuff.
And there's always the threat of wind-up merchant himself, Mr.
Wilf.
Zaha, just
Ooh.
taking it to Arsenal and someone gets a red card.
Yeah. Martinelli, another one, or the other
Granit
Gabriel,
Xhaka.
Granit Xhaka.
Yeah.
Well, that does it for the pod. We look to be back next week, breaking down the games,
No more international
predicting
breaks.
the next games,
It's all Premier League from here on out.
pounding
Here to the
our
end of the
way to
season.
the end of the season.
Yeah. That's right.
Until then, adios,
Sayonara.
mis amigos.
Good night. Good morning. Good day.
USA.
USA. Greg Berhalter.
No. Oh, no.